Well, good afternoon, viewer. Good afternoon, listener. I'm sorry that we missed you on Friday, but I said to Pat McGard, I said, please, Pat, please, let's do a podcast. And Pat said, no, I'm feeling too tired after sitting and have a wee drink here. So that's the reason we didn't have one last Friday. But thank God he's sobered up and he's back again. Paul,
I'm back
sure,
again.
master race, Pat.
Sure, yes. Actually, I was driving. Or I'm sorry. I'll more accurately. My son was driving down from Mojácar in the south of Spain down to Alicante, so I was not available. And now, while I've been known to enjoy a glass of wine, even I couldn't drink in a car traveling along. Anyway, Dr. Collins, before we start,
Yeah.
I was just reading about 2 minutes ago, 3 minutes ago. I hadn't actually seen this. What do you make of this? The latest opinion polls were in the Sunday Independent yesterday. Finn Gael on 26%, no change. Fianna Fáil 20% +1. Sinn Féin 18 -1. Independents and others 16%. So what does that tell you? That's quick again. Quick recap. Finn Gael 26, no change. Fianna Fáil 20 +1. Sinn Féin 18 -1. Independents and others, no change, 16%. So what are you making it now,
Well,
considering the fact it's almost certain that there'll be an election called probably
Well,
this week?
as it happens, I have looked at those same figures just about 10 minutes ago myself, by sheer coincidence.
Yeah.
As a Sinn Féin supporter, I suppose I would describe myself. I'm sorry to see Sinn Féin down there, but I'm doing a piece for the Anderson Sound News, and I'm going to make a point that it's pretty rough, but at the same time, no, what were the opinion polls like last time out, 2020?
Hmm.
I wonder where Sinn Féin were there and then, because the surge they experienced, nobody saw coming. So you never know what'll
Yeah.
happen this time. It could well be that when people get down to it, I was watching a guy from County Meath, Sinn Féin TD, I think. And he was, he was
Hmm.
talking about whatever was the topic of the moment, and I thought he was very good, and I thought the things that we're seeing made sense. They have a housing policy, they have a health policy. In fact, they seem to me to be people who have more fine detail of what they plan to do than do Fine Gael or Fianna Fáil. Besides which,
Yeah.
of course, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael have been doing it for the last God knows how long.
100 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I just thought it was interesting because, Jude, uh, the only factor, and we've mentioned this before, I think it's 18 out of the current 35 Fine Gael TDs. I
Yeah.
think this is a factor that's been underplayed or
Mm.
stepping down. So when people like me and you would go into the polling booth, we're rather than the old familiar names, we'll be seeing these people and we're going, "Who under Jesus are these?" So I
Mm.
think that's a major thing. There is that whole factor in Ireland about voting for people. So I think that's going to be a bigger issue. Secondly, no, I didn't see it on Friday night because I wasn't here. But apparently, Christy Moore and Colin Meaney were on the Late Late Show when
Yeah.
they said, "Look, we have had the same old people doing it for 100 years. Maybe it's time for a change." Apparently, it got a rather rapturous applause.
Ooh.
So I think there's a sort of hidden majority. I could be wrong, Jude. By the way, and I'm also saying I don't think Sinn Féin have covered themselves in glory in recent months, and a lot of it
Another
was
story
self-inflicted.
again today.
Yeah,
Councillor
another
J.
one.
J.
Yeah,
McGee.
yeah. So like they're having all sorts of. Oh, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of churn within Sinn Féin at the minute. But anyway, Jude, it's all very interesting. But like, having said all that, and I can go down and around for the next 10 minutes. But the bottom line, Jude, I still think Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil are almost nailed on to be what maybe Social Democrats or the Labour Party. I don't know who, but
It's,
they're,
it's,
no, I,
it's
ca- I can't I can't see them losing. And I'm sorry about that, Jude, 'cause I would just like once to see something radical in this country. And by the way, see
exactly.
if Sinn Féin got into government and I was going to say, all right, fucked it up. I would be against them as much.
Mm.
I want to
Mm.
see something different rather than the
Mm.
same old. Jude, I keep saying this and I keep repeating it. I think it's ridiculous that all our sort of analysis is based on the fact how well the economy is doing and how well the multinationals are doing and all the rest of it. Jude, it should be about the wee Mrs. Doherty and wee Mrs. McLaughlin and see how they're doing.
Exactly. And I think that's a mistake to make. And, I would tend to agree with you. You could well see a rather different result in this election compared to the opinion polls. It's hard
Yeah,
to know. Hard to know. Certainly, you'd rather. Well, I would rather see Sinn Féin back where they were in the mid-30s for the last couple
yeah.
of years. But I suppose, as you say, they brought some of this on themselves. Also, we were agreed that there was really a pile-on by the media during the time that they were having
Absolutely.
problems. Um,
Yeah,
and maybe Mrs. Doherty and Mrs. McLaughlin aren't that stupid. Maybe they're
yeah.
not going to be bought. A lot of things can change things. For example, I didn't see that Late Late Show because I
Hmm.
have a certain aversion to it. But um, that kind of moment where the audience claps can very often indicate or even precipitate, start
Yeah.
a surge or a sense of positivity towards a party or towards a movement or whatever it might be. I mean, I'm thinking back to Jerry Adams' famous interview
Yeah.
on the Late Late Show. That I think that was a turning point for people, some people, and a lot of people in the South.
A lot
Uh,
of people did on that was one of those catalytic moments in Irish television, and the whole sort of establishment and tried to put the man with two heads
yeah.
and so on, and Gay Byrne wouldn't sit beside him. I think there was a thing in the Irish psyche just says, wait a minute, we don't like pylons like this, and as well as that, by the time he was finished, Adams came across basically the question asked. Have you ever sitting in my shoes in West Belfast growing up in that sort of society? What would you have done?
Exactly, exactly. Oh, yeah, that was a
Mm.
masterly
Yeah,
performance that,
yeah,
and very courageous
yeah.
too. Because if you or I were there, you would tend to be cowed if you had a whole lineup
Mm,
of heavyweights against you and the bloody
yeah,
presenter. It'd be
yeah,
hard for you to keep your nerve or not to burst out in anger. But Adams remained
yeah.
cool throughout. I still can
Aye.
hear his voice saying to the Hugh Leonard. You're not, that's not really your name, is it? Hugh Leonard. I know it's true. Hugh Leonard isn't his name, but it really, it, it made the
It
suggestion
showed
that,
how could I. You can you imagine some of the interrogators down in Castlereagh. Is your real name, whatever. Anyway, that's enough of that, Jude.
okay, let's get
But
back.
isn't there a big event in the world tomorrow?
Aye, something happened tomorrow. Well, we're told it's the biggest event, but maybe it won't be in the sense that not much will change. I mean, let's face it. The one of the things I really hold against Harris is that she didn't speak up for the Palestinians. In fact, she was part of what a group that refused to allow the Palestinian or a group of Palestinian speakers to speak at the Democratic Convention.
Yeah,
As she never has resigned from or recoiled from Joe Biden's pumping of money into Israel as, tens of thousands of children were killed. So I'm not crazy about her, but the fact is she's in against Trump. And I mean, if you put what? I really be crude here. If you put a pile of shit in against Trump, I think I'd still go for the pile of shit.
yeah. Yeah. No, by the way, she made a speech last night, uh, which was very conciliatory towards the Arab Americans, and where she said, but I presume they have sort of resiled from her. So she might be trying to win them back. But she said,
Mm.
"I'm going. If I become president, I will be looking for justice for the Palestinians, an end to the war, reconstruction of Gaza, and a two-state solution." She actually did say that last night. But she says, of course, the usual thing first was Israel has every right to defend itself and the usual claptrap. But Jude, you see, here's the problem, and it is a reality. I love what people are saying. I have a couple of very, very hard left friends who keep saying you're middle of the road. But someone if they want to run for be president of America and give out their views in America, they wouldn't get a 5% of the vote. So the reality is, you have to go tack towards that where the voter is. And unfortunately, the voters in America are very. Jude, when Donald Trump can stand up at an election rally and get wild applause when he describes Kamala Harris as far left extremist, you got to go, good and merciful Jesus. If Kamala Harris was in Britain, she would be in the right end wing of the Tory party.
That's right. That's right. And when you say that, I accept your point that she can't afford. She wants to be elected. She can't afford to alienate this a great swathe of people, and you've got to try to
Yeah.
strike some sort of middle course. But sometimes I think maybe it's naivety on my part. Is that are there no politicians who have got clear principles, which they say, look, this is what I believe. This is what I believe should happen,
Yeah.
and win people over to that, rather than to say, oh, people have these views, so how can I navigate things so that I cannot upset
Well,
people
well,
or I'll
Bernie
please
Sanders. It
this
was
group?
Bernie Sanders was the closest I think that I've
Ah,
come in recent times, and but he got absolutely screwed by the Democratic Party's executive and all the rest of it. In fact, it was a total setup when he was going forward to get the nomination.
mm,
It was a shades of Jeremy Corbyn. You
yeah,
know,
yeah. Although I have to say that my son lives in the States, and
Mm.
him and his wife would say that not Joe Biden, but Bernie Sanders has come lately to the socialist position. That for much of his
Mm.
political career he wasn't a socialist. But I've never checked on that. Point is, he's a
I've never checked
socialist
that out.
now. He's a
Mm.
clear talker, and I really, of all the American politicians, I enjoy listening to him the most, I think.
Uh, but Jude, here's the thing: the New York Times, apparently it's 112 word. Their editorial written by their editorial board, and they said that Trump is unfit to lead. He's a threat to democracy, and he lies without limit. Now, Jude, they're saying now they didn't endorse Harris, but they said Trump was unfit to lead. Now,
No,
have you think about it? Trump on Saturday, it was a Saturday or Sunday. I'm not 100% certain. I only read it this morning. He said he was sorry that he had ever left the White House. Dude, there's a man who doesn't
yeah,
seem to
yeah.
understand the fact. Jude, he keeps coming out with the fact that he never lost the election. Yet the evidence that did lose the election is overwhelming. He
Yeah.
says he appointed 300 judges. He got four, I think, onto the Supreme Court, that it makes America safe again. And he comes out with all these tropes about transgender and all the rest. They're so minor, those things, but he makes them massive.
Oh,
As if
yes.
the hordes of Muslims are coming to take over America in the morning.
Well, there was two phrases. I don't know if we should spend too much longer on it because so much has been said.
No,
But two phrases caught my eye from the newspapers and from the TV. Somebody asked the Democratic spokesman or spokesperson how did they feel about their prospects for Harris and Walz, and they said that they were nauseously optimistic, which I thought was a rather good
brilliant
way of putting
expression
it.
there. Well, you see,
Nauseously
it's
optimistic.
on a knife edge, dude. It really
Uh,
is.
I,
Apparently,
I,
uh,
I,
go
I
ahead.
listen to podcasts and the guys in it talk. They sort of joke about it, but these are Americans. They talk about it as bedwetting time.
Yeah. Remember, Alex Ferguson when it come in the last 4 or 5 games, it
That's
was
right.
squeaky bum time. You know,
That's right. Along the
in
same
other words, you're
lines.
shitting yourself.
Do you
Yeah,
know what Trump
but
said? You know, Trump's
but
last words were not his last words. Of course, the bugger never stopped talking. But his one of his statements was recently was, "Here's all you need to know. Kamala broke it, and we're gonna fix it."
like said, yeah. I can't, like the man is a liar. He's and so on, and he says this is a crooked country, and I'm going to straighten it out. From him, Jesus. And by the way, the cult will, despite evidence from independent sources, from legal people, from journalists, from historians, the cult believes a second-hand car salesman, and you sort of go like, what can you do about it?
Okay, since we do have one or two other things to look at, Pat, and
Yeah,
we're a bit short in time today.
okay,
Finally,
right.
will Harris win or will Trump win?
I think Harris. I think women are coming out big time for Harris.
Yeah,
And on Saturday there was a massive rally for her.
that's
And
right.
apparently, and I'll leave it in this, in Iowa, she was way behind. Trump won Iowa twice easily. Apparently, in a poll on Saturday, for the first time, Harris has come ahead. So
Like
I'm
44,
hoping that's a site
47, 44,
something
47.
like that. 40, 70, 44, something like that. Yeah. So that's very interesting, Jim.
I think I'd guess that Harris would win. I mean, God, I sincerely hope she wins. Okay, let's go on. There has been change other places. There's a hell of a lot of political stuff happening in a lot of countries. I mean, in
Yeah,
Britain, for example, we've had Rachel Reeves's famous budget, and was it yesterday or yeah, yesterday that Kemi Badenoch was made the leader of the Tory party, a black
yeah,
woman who was
yeah.
actually she was born in London, but she was reared in Nigeria until she was 16. Did you know that?
Yeah, I read that some.
I didn't
But
know
Jude,
that until
I
today.
was watching her one day, Jude. She's, you know, you can call me racist all day long, but people like Priti Patel and Kemi Badenoch really get up my nose big time because I think they've sold out to the white man person. How they have reached views like Kemi Badenoch is trying to say there's not systemic racism in Britain, right? I don't know what planet she's on, but remember it was the McGregor report into the Metropolitan Police. He said the racism in the police was systemic.
Oh
There
yeah.
was a guy on, and I heard him on BBC Two today. He says when people with black names apply for jobs, they have to apply about 10 different times before they even get a response,
Hmm.
and so on. And she says she's against. She's remember the guy. I can't. He was Lord some other. He what? Oh, he gave £1 million donation to the Tory party, but he says Diane Abbott of the Labour Party made him sick, and he would love to shoot black women or something. And Kemi Badenoch said, like should apologize for him, and she doesn't. She says there shouldn't people shouldn't get too uptight about black race or critical race theory or education. In fact, it shouldn't be taught at all. Now, June, I don't know about you, but from slavery until now, as a black person standing up and sort of saying all that is not relevant, as to me, is selling out big time.
Well, you see, maybe it's a bit like we were talking about earlier on. She's saying, "What will go down best? What will get me the
Yeah.
most votes to be made leader?" So she said, she had her eye on that kind of thing. She is, incidentally, I'm sure you know this, that she's the sixth Tory leader in the last 8 years.
Yeah.
That's an amazing record. She has made the statement: the Tories talked right but governed left. You
Yeah.
know,
That
that tells you a lot
governed
about
left,
her political
bollocks.
positioning if she thinks that the Tories were left.
Yeah. Jude, she's also full of crap. She claims that she is working class because she worked in McDonald's as a student. What from the part of the narrative she left out is her father is a doctor and her mother was a professor of psychology or psychiatry. I can't remember what. So anybody that tries to tell you, like if my father was a professor or a doctor who in this country, he would be earning quite a lot of money, and
Mm,
my mother was a professor at UCD or UCG or Queens,
yeah.
I presume she'd be earning quite a lot of money. So to claim that you were some sort of, this woman has worked in banks and then director of elections, or not director of elections, director of digital media or something at the Spectator and all that sort of stuff. She's been part of the establishment for a very long time.
Mm-hmm. When they say, you see, I think it isn't just a case of this woman coming in and us being kind of blinded by the fact she's a black woman and the first black woman to certainly lead not the first woman, she's the fourth woman to lead the Tory party, but she's the first black woman to lead the Tory
Mm.
party. I think we could get blinded by that a bit because they
Yeah,
say, they say that she is a really thoroughgoing Thatcherite. She wants to
yeah,
do what Thatcher did,
yeah,
shrink the state to the point where it's virtually invisible in society.
yeah,
And she knows she's denying, that there should be as much maternity pay as there is. In fact, I think she's cast doubt on the existence of autism. You know, she
yeah,
she 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 has this sort of really primitive bedrock kind of Toryism that is so
yeah,
far away from the one nation Toryism
yeah,
of the likes of Harold Macmillan that
yeah.
you wouldn't recognize the two. I think she
Yeah.
could be a dangerous woman. It'll be interesting to see what happens. The fact of the matter is, Rachel Reeves, while she may have done a reasonable budget, she's no great shakes. I don't feel that the Labour Party, given the lead they got, given all the seats they got, I'm not sure they're setting out to do anything too tremendous. Do you think?
Not at all, you know. I was just, you know, I was listening to the debate on. I was out earlier on this morning, and I was on the BBC Two. There's, I can't remember the name of the female presenter, but she was very good. But she had obviously two black people on. She had like Femi Amaweli, I think he's a sort of writer, come for the Independent, and a Labour or a Tory MP, and your man, the Independent guy, absolutely destroyed the Tory MP who tried to claim at Badenoch, you know, that Don Butler, a Labour MP, retweeted something from a journalist. It says, what did I wrote it down? That basically Badenoch was white supremacy and a black face. And I
That's
think she
good.
says,
That's good.
I have very little doubt that's an
That just about
absolutely,
sums it up.
yeah,
Sums it up. That I think.
yeah,
Uh,
uh,
if that woman gets into power, and it's not
yeah,
impossible either. I mean, I could see people turning against. In fact, I think the popularity polls at present show the Tories as ahead of Labour. Can you believe it?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
so if she ever gets into power and follows through on what she's saying, and
yeah,
again, like in a way, I'm contradicting myself because I was saying earlier on, is there no politicians who have got a vision of things and then they put that in front of the people and try to win them over to it rather than the other way around? Check out what the people are
yeah,
thinking and then, okay, well, I'll adopt my policies to that. To be fair to Badenoch, she seems to have these Thatcherite policies. Right wing is be
yeah.
damned. And she's intent on bringing them into some sort of reality in government if she ever gets a chance. So there is an
Absolutely.
honesty about that, but I mean it's horrible. It's the same as Trump, like
Yeah,
you have to admit that he says the kind of things just right out, which are disgusting. But you could
yeah,
argue that at least he's being honest about himself.
yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
Absolutely. By the way, before we go, a quickie. I was in Spain last
oh
week, and
listen,
I
listen,
arrived
can I
in.
hold on a second, Pat? I wanted to say one last. I have a good line and work on this. Have you looked at the name Kemi Badenoch? Have you thought about it?
You have indeed, but go you ahead.
Well, her surname, if you think about it, is a combination of Bad and Enoch.
Badenoch.
Enoch, well, yeah, just throw
Yeah.
that out
And
for you.
by the way, when you consider what he said about rivers of blood,
I know, I
Jesus.
know. Well, there you are.
Uh,
Anyway, what
uh,
were you going to say, Pat? What's the next point?
oh, quickly before we go, I was in Spain last week.
God, you
The
live with
eldest
some
son,
life,
he's in
I'll
school.
tell you. You have some life.
Uh,
You have
uh,
some
no,
easy number.
but no, it's a great thing. Get your wife, who's what do you call it? Nearly should have been a travel agent. Now, by the way, I left Spain about 6 o'clock on a Sunday morning. Talk about needing matchsticks for your eyes. These cheap old flights. But anyway, that's life.
Yeah.
But anyway, we arrived into Spain last Monday night, and under a thunderstorm, thunder and lightning. On Tuesday, the sky was overcast, but we woke up to the apparently it's two more than at this stage more than 200 dead and so on. But
Ah,
anyway, get to the point here. I was watching the news yesterday. The Queen, what King Philip and Queen, I can't remember her name,
uh-huh.
arrived in a wee village outside or a town outside Valencia, and mud and stuff was thrown at them. Do you think the respect for royalty as gone?
Well, if they're throwing mud at them, they can't be too popular. I have to say my heart sort of leaped at that, as someone who thinks
Yeah,
that monarchy is the biggest rubbish ever was.
yeah,
Incidentally, last week, there was a quite a long documentary about Charles and William and the
yeah,
money that the estates that they owned and the taxes that they got people to give them for the use of their
yeah.
land. They're charging the NHS for the use of their land. They're charging the Ministry of Defence for the use of their land. They're charging just about everybody. And I mean, it chings up to huge amounts of money.
Yeah, and they don't. Do they pay tax? I'm not even sure. The
I'm not
Queen
sure. I
had
think
to
they
start paying
voluntarily
taxes.
pay tax. I think that's the
I
idea.
but yeah,
That they're saying, "Oh, we realize we don't have to, but we will do it just the same."
yes, because
Oh,
to make it
yeah.
look good. Yeah. No, but I was just sitting watching it, and I said, I remember the days of the royal family and the deference. I thought the Spanish attitude to the royal family was not quite as deferential as the old Brits, you know.
Well, who
But Jude,
knows?
I'll leave you with this. No, but I remember some years back when your man in North Korea died, and the presenter came on, you know, and the old woman came on, and the Brits all started laughing at her, and I thought, you people have no room to laugh when it comes about leaders, because Jesus, the deference and the absolute rubbish, like, by the way, I quite liked the Queen. I thought she was a nice enough woman, so I'm not on a personal level, but the amount of sentimental gobshite rubbish that they come out with during the obsequies was unbelievable, you know.
But do you know that if you were made a knight, or rather, should I say, the day you are made a knight of the
Yeah.
realm, you will have to back your way out of the room afterwards, because otherwise
Aye.
you'll be turning your back on the monarch, and that is not good form. So keep that in mind when you make your decision to accept or not accept the offer.
The guy who, what do you call it? As he was bending down to kiss Elizabeth the First ring, he farted, and he this is about what 1600 or something, and he lived abroad and ignominy for the rest of his days. On that note,
Okay, Pat. Not
I
crude,
Jude.
but funny. Okay.